On the edge of the galaxy, there was a planet called Jalara, a world of shimmering purple forests and floating crystal mountains. The Jalarans were tall, elegant, and proud. Among them, the most arrogant was their princess, Valara. She believed her people were the strongest in the galaxy. To her, other species were weak, especially the humans. When a human named Commander Eli Drake visited Jalara for an interplanetary summit, Valara greeted him coldly. She didn't like humans. They were short, fragile, and emotional to her. They had no place among powerful species like the Jalarans. But there was a problem. A strange and dangerous energy storm had started growing in Jalara's sky. It was unlike anything the Jalarans had seen before. Their scientists failed to understand it. But Eli recognized it immediately. This is a grav storm. Eli warned in front of the Jalaran Council. It's deadly. It grows fast, feeds on energy, and swallows everything in its path. Your defenses won't stop it. The council listened, but Valara laughed. A human comes to teach us about the universe. How amusing, she said. We have protected Jalara for centuries. Your weak species cannot know better than us. Eli stood firm. His voice was calm, but urgent. I've seen it before. My home colony was destroyed by one. If you keep using your energy shields, the storm will grow stronger. You must shut them down and evacuate. The room was silent, except for Valara's mocking voice. You are scared of a storm, then run back to your colony, human, she sneered. Jalara doesn't need your cowardice, Eli sighed. He could see that the Jalarans' pride was blinding them, but he tried once more. Pride won't save you. The storm feeds on arrogance too, he whispered. Valara's eyes burned with anger. She declared loudly, if the storm comes, we'll crush it. That is the Jalaran way. And with that, the meeting ended. Eli was dismissed, and Valara ordered her soldiers to increase the energy shields around their cities. She felt safe behind the shimmering walls of force, but that night, the sky changed. The grav storm grew darker, swirling like a black hole. Lightning made of purple and red struck the shields, feeding on their energy, making the storm even larger. The next morning, the first city was gone, swallowed. Panic spread across Jalara, but Valara stood proud, still refusing to call for the humans' help. She ordered stronger shields, believing more power would push the storm away. Eli, still in the capital, watched helplessly. He had offered help, but they rejected him. He prepared his ship to leave, but something held him back. He knew millions would die. That evening, Valara stood on her palace balcony, watching the storm creep closer. She still believed her people could survive. But then, her top scientist arrived, pale and trembling. Princess, the storm grows faster with every shield pulse. We've made it stronger. Valara's pride cracked. Just a little, but still, she whispered, we are Jalarans. We do not beg humans. Moments later, the palace shook. The storm had reached the city gates. Buildings trembled. The sky roared. Valara felt fear for the first time, but she pushed it down. She went to the command hall, determined to fight. Then a soldier ran in, shouting, the human has returned. Valara frowned. What does he want now? Eli entered, covered in dust, but his eyes steady. He looked straight at her. You didn't listen. He said, but I'm not leaving. If you want your people to live, follow my lead. There's still time. Valara stared at him. Her pride screamed to throw him out. But the storm's roar outside was louder. Still, she spat. You think a human can save us? Eli didn't flinch. No. But together, maybe we can. For the first time, Valara hesitated. Then the city walls cracked. People screamed. She knew. She was out of time. Valara's pride was her shield, but now it was breaking. And the question was, would she break with it? Valara stood frozen in the command hall. Outside, the grav storm raged like a living beast, swallowing the horizon. Thunder cracked like war drums. The palace walls trembled. Her people were screaming, begging for salvation. For the first time in her life, Valara didn't have an answer. She looked at Eli, the human commander, standing tall despite the danger. His eyes weren't arrogant. They weren't afraid either. They held something else, determination. Her pride whispered not to trust him, but her heart whispered louder she was losing everything. Valara clenched her fists. She hated this. She hated asking for help, but she also hated watching her people die. "What's your plan, human?" She spat, her voice sharp. Eli didn't smile. He stepped forward and pointed at the city's energy core displayed on the hologram map. "We must shut down your energy shields." "Completely," Eli said. "The storm feeds on them. That's why it keeps growing." Valara frowned. "If we lower the shields, the storm will destroy the city faster." Eli shook his head. "It's already destroying you because of the shields. Drop them, and the storm will lose its fuel. Then we evacuate to the underground crystal caves. The storm can't follow there. It collapses without surface energy to feed on." Valara's council gasped. One of her generals stepped forward. "That's madness," he barked. "We'll be defenseless." Eli turned to the general, his tone sharp. "You're defenseless now. Another hour, and there won't be a city left to defend." Valara's heart pounded. She stared at the hologram, watching the storm inch closer. "If I'm wrong," Eli said quietly, "you'll die blaming a human. But if I'm right, you'll have a chance to live." Silence filled the hall. Then the building shook harder. Another district had fallen. Valara's pride screamed at her to refuse, but the screams outside, the cries of her people, drowned that pride. "Do it," Valara said at last. "Lower the shields." The council stared, stunned. "Lower the shields," she roared, her eyes blazing. The command was sent. One by one, the energy barriers protecting the city vanished. The air felt heavier, darker. Everyone waited, breathless. The storm paused. Its winds howled, but the lightning strikes slowed. It thrashed in place, confused. Eli exhaled. "Good, now we move." Valara watched him, unsure how a mere human could face such terror without flinching. Eli looked at her. "We need to guide your people to the crystal caverns beneath the palace." "How many entrances are there?" "7, Valara replied. "But only 3 are large enough for the crowds." "Then we split up," Eli ordered. "I'll lead one group. You'll lead another." Valara frowned. "You presume to give me orders?" Eli stepped closer. "No, princess. I'm giving you a choice. Lead them, or watch them die." Valara's pride burned again, but she pushed it down. She nodded. "Then lead," she said. "Show me your human courage." Eli smiled faintly. "I'll show you survival." Together, they left the command hall. The city was chaos. Families fled, carrying children, dragging the old. The storm screamed overhead. Desperate to grow, Valara stood on a balcony and shouted with a voice that echoed across the city, "To all Jalarans, follow the marked paths to the caverns. I will lead you there myself. Trust me or die here." Her words shook the air, commanding obedience. Eli watched, impressed. Behind her arrogance, Valara had strength. She was not just a princess, she was a leader. Soon, the crowds moved, flowing through the crystal streets towards the caverns. Valara led from the front, sword in hand, her white cloak whipping in the storm's wind. Eli led another group, using his knowledge of storms to guide them through safer streets. But then the storm changed. It roared louder. It knew its prey was escaping. Bolts of dark energy struck the ground, opening fiery cracks. Suddenly, the ground shook violently. A fissure split open, cutting Valara's group off from the caverns. Panic erupted. People screamed. Valara stood firm, but her path was blocked. Eli saw this from a distance. Without hesitation, he ran alone through the debris, dodging lightning and fire. He reached Valara's side. "We can't cross here," she snapped. Eli scanned the area. Then he pointed to an old tunnel, half collapsed but still open. "We go through there," he said. Valara hesitated. "That tunnel is unstable. It could collapse any second." Eli looked her in the eyes. "Then we better move fast." Without waiting, he ran in first. Valara watched him disappear into the darkness. A human, risking his life for aliens. For the first time, respect bloomed inside her. She turned to her people. "Follow the human. Trust him." She led them into the tunnel, her pride finally silenced by something stronger, hope. Inside the dark tunnel, the walls trembled. Dust fell from above. Eli looked back, making sure they all kept moving. Valara caught up to him. "You are reckless," she whispered. Eli grinned. "You're welcome," Valara chuckled softly despite the danger, but deep inside, she wondered why did he care so much, and what did he know about this storm that he wasn't telling yet. As the tunnel walls shook and cracks spread, Eli kept moving forward, but in his mind, one terrible truth echoed. This is no ordinary storm. Something is inside it, something alive, and that was a truth Valara was not yet ready to hear. The tunnel was crumbling around them. Every step forward was met with falling dust, cracking stone, and groaning walls. Still, Valara and Eli pushed on, guiding the frightened Jalerans deeper into the earth. Valara, usually poised and proud, now felt fear gnawing at her heart. She glanced at Eli, who led the way with a flashlight strapped to his arm. His back was straight, his steps steady. He didn't even look afraid. How could a human, a species she thought was weak, be so composed? In the face of doom, "Why aren't you scared?" Valara finally asked as they crossed a narrow bridge over a deep chasm in the tunnel. Eli didn't look back. His voice echoed through the darkness. "Because I've seen worse. I watched my colony vanish into a storm like this one. I was the only one who escaped." Valara's eyes widened. She hadn't expected that answer. "You survived a grave storm before." Eli hesitated, then stopped. He turned to face her. His face was hard, shadowed in the dim light. "That's the thing, Princess. The storm that destroyed my colony, it wasn't just a grave storm. It was something worse, something alive." Valara frowned. "Alive? What do you mean?" Eli stepped closer. His voice dropped to a whisper. "The storm is not just weather. There's a creature in it, a parasite that rides the storm, feeding on energy and pride. It whispers to people's minds, makes them overconfident, makes them use more power, and that's how it grows." Valara's heart pounded. She wanted to call him mad, but deep inside, she remembered the strange dreams she'd been having since the storm began. Voices, whispers in her sleep, calling her strong, calling her invincible. She'd thought it was her own mind, but now, "You've heard the whispers too," Eli guessed, "haven't you?" Valara swallowed. "Yes, I thought it was just stress." Eli shook his head. "That's how it starts. The storm knows how to break worlds. Without firing a shot, it breaks leaders. It feeds their ego until their mistakes destroy everything." Valara stared into the dark tunnel ahead. "You're saying I helped it grow?" Eli didn't answer. He didn't have to. Shame burned in Valara's chest. For the first time, she felt small. She had mocked the human's warnings, laughed at his fears, and now her people were paying the price. "What can we do?" she whispered. "We reached the crystal caverns," Eli said. "The natural crystals block its influence. Down there, it can't reach minds or feed." Valara straightened her shoulders. She might have been wrong before, but she wasn't going to give up now. "Then let's keep moving," she said firmly. They pushed forward. The tunnel opened wider, but the air grew colder. Valara noticed small glowing fungi on the wall signs. They were close to the caverns, but then the air changed. A deep, unnatural hum filled the tunnel. The ground shook, but not from the storm. Something was moving underground, something big. Suddenly, from the shadows ahead, glowing red eyes appeared. A monstrous shape, half mist, half flesh, crawled from the tunnel wall. Valara froze. It looked like a creature made of storm clouds, with jagged limbs and a shifting body of smoke and lightning. "What is that?" she gasped. Ellie's face paled. "That's the heart of the storm, the parasite." The creature shrieked, a sound like thunder cracking open the sky. The Jalerans screamed behind them. Eli pulled out a plasma pistol. "Keep everyone back, don't let it touch you." Valara drew her crystalline sword, its blade humming with energy. She stood by Ellie's side. "You fight well for a human," she muttered. Eli smirked. "And you're less arrogant than before." "Progress." The creature lunged. Valara slashed first, her blade slicing through its smoky form. But it reformed instantly. Eli fired plasma bolts, each one tearing holes in its body. But again, it reformed. "It's feeding off our energy attacks," Valara realized. "Exactly," Eli said grimly. "We can't kill it like this." The creature swung a lightning-coated claw. Eli shoved Valara aside, taking the hit on his shoulder. He cried out, but stayed standing. Valara stared at him. shocked. No one had ever pushed her out of harm's way before. Why did you? No time, Eli snapped, wincing. We need to collapse the tunnel behind us. The crystals ahead will block it if we reach them. Valara nodded. She turned to her people. Run. Go to the crystals. Don't stop. The civilians ran, guided by the soldiers. Valara turned back to Eli, who was breathing hard. His arm burned. I'll hold it, he said. You bring the tunnel down. Valara grabbed his arm. You won't survive. Eli smiled faintly. Maybe, but your people will. Now go. Valara's heart twisted. She was Jalaran Pridful, cold. Yet here was a human, ready to die for her people. No, she said. We do this together. Without waiting, Valara slammed her sword into a weak point in the tunnel wall, shattering rock. Eli fired his plasma pistol at the ceiling, hitting load-bearing stones. The tunnel groaned. The ceiling began to collapse. The creature shrieked in rage, charging at them, but just as it lunged, the ceiling gave way, burying it under tons of stone. Dust filled the air. Silence followed. Valara coughed, leaning against a wall. Eli slumped to the ground, exhausted. You're insane, Valara said between breaths. I've been called worse. Eli chuckled weakly. Valara looked at him, her expression unreadable. Then she offered her hand. Eli took it, and she pulled him up. Together, they limped forward, following the others. Finally, they emerged into the crystal caverns, an enormous underground world of glowing blue and white. Crystals, their light, soft and soothing. The air felt clean, quiet. The storm's noise was gone. They were safe, for now. Valara stood at the entrance, looking back toward the darkness they'd escaped. I owe you my life, she said softly. And my people's. Eli shook his head. We're not done yet. Princess, that thing isn't dead. And when it digs itself out, it'll come for us. Valara looked at him. Then what do we do? Eli looked at the glowing crystals, then back at her. We prepare, he said, because next time, we fight it together. Valara nodded. For the first time, she felt no shame in admitting that she needed the human. And this time, she would listen. The crystal caverns were enormous, like an underground palace carved by nature itself. Glowing white and blue crystals lit the space with a soft light that felt calming, almost sacred. The air was clean, and the storm's deafening roar was gone, but the peace was fragile. Valara stood near the entrance of the cavern, watching her people settle in. Children cried quietly. Soldiers stood guard, but their eyes were filled with fear. The people had followed her blindly, and yet she had nearly led them to death. She clenched her fists. Pride had failed her. She hated how wrong she'd been, but even more, she hated that a human had to save her. Eli sat nearby, wrapping his injured arm in cloth. His shoulder was burned where the creature had struck him. Despite the pain, he worked quietly, never asking for help. Valara watched him from a distance, troubled. She didn't understand him. Why would a human, an outsider, risk his life for them? Finally, she approached him. You should rest, she said, her voice quieter than usual. Eli looked up, tired but alert. I will, but first, we need a plan. That thing, it's not dead. It will dig through the rock eventually. Valara sat beside him, her white cloak now stained with dust. What is that creature? You said it was alive, but how can a storm be alive? Eli glanced at the glowing crystals around them. It's called a void wraith. Humans discovered it decades ago in deep space. It attaches itself to storms like a parasite and turns them into weapons. But worse, it's intelligent. It whispers to minds, feeds on pride, anger, and power. Valara's stomach twisted. She remembered the dreams, the whispers that had made her feel unstoppable. It was speaking to me, she admitted softly. I thought it was my own thoughts, telling me to prove I was stronger than a human. Eli nodded. That's its trick. Makes you feel like a god until your arrogance leads you to destruction. Valara's pride stung again, but she couldn't deny the truth. I was a fool, she muttered. Eli shook his head. You were proud. There's a difference. But you're here now. That means you're smarter than most. Valara looked at him, surprised. He didn't mock her. He didn't throw her failure in her face. He respected her still. You humans are strange, she said. You mock pride, yet you're the only one standing when others fall. Eli chuckled faintly, maybe because we've fallen too many times ourselves. There was a pause between them. Then Valara asked, "How do we kill it?" Ellie's eyes narrowed. "The crystals, they emit a natural frequency that blocks the Void Wraith's influence, but they can also hurt it if we can amplify the resonance. We'd need to create a weapon or trap using the crystal's energy." Valara stood up, energized. "Then we'll build one. My people know how to shape crystals. It's part of our culture." Eli smiled. "Then let's get started." Within hours, the cavern was buzzing with activity. Jalaran artisans and engineers worked to shape the massive crystals into sharp spires and resonant blades. Others worked on focusing devices to channel the crystal's energy. Eli worked alongside them, guiding them with his knowledge of the creature. Valara watched, amazed that he gained her people's respect so quickly for once. Humans and Jalarans worked side by side. Valara joined Eli, helping to carve a massive crystal spear. "You surprise me, human," she said while shaping the spears. "Base, you're not as weak as I thought." Eli laughed. "And you're not as heartless as I thought." She smirked. "Careful. Compliments might make me proud again." They both chuckled, a rare sound in the darkness of their situation. But their moment of ease shattered when the cavern walls began to tremble again. "It's digging," Eli said grimly. The cavern was still and quiet. The only sound was the slow breathing of exhausted warriors and the soft hum of the glowing crystals. The Void Wraith was gone, destroyed by the power of the crystal spear, but the air still held the memory of its shriek, echoing in everyone's minds. Valara stood with Eli at the heart of the cavern, both of them bruised, burned, and weary. Yet there was a strange sense of relief between them. They had survived together. Jalaran soldiers and civilians slowly emerged from their hiding spots, their eyes wide with awe and disbelief. They had seen their proud princess fight side by side with a human. Something unthinkable days ago. Valara raised her voice, her tone clear and strong. "Jalarans, today, you stood on the edge of death and survived, not because of pride, but because we stood united with each other and with our human ally." She gestured to Eli, who stood silently, slightly embarrassed by the attention. "We owe him a debt of gratitude. Without his warning, without his courage, we would all be gone." The Jalarans murmured, some still too proud to cheer, but others nodding in respect. Slowly, that respect spread. One soldier stepped forward and saluted Eli in Jalaran style. Others followed. Valara watched this and smiled. Something had changed. The arrogance that once defined her people was cracking, replaced by humility and something new, hope. Later, after rest and healing, Valara and Eli stood at the cavern's edge, watching the remaining survivors gather supplies to rebuild. "You've changed them," Valara admitted quietly. Eli shook his head. "No, princess, you changed them. They followed you. I was just a loud human in the room." Valara chuckled softly. "Perhaps. But you made me see what I refused to see." She looked at the ceiling of the cavern, imagining the planet's surface far above. "We can't stay underground forever," she said. "We'll rebuild our cities, but differently, wiser." Eli nodded. "Just don't rebuild your energy shields the same way, or the Void Wraith might come back." Valara's expression darkened. "I thought it was dead." Ellie's gaze was heavy. "That one is. But there are others. The Void Wraiths didn't evolve on their own. Something created them, something worse." Valara frowned. "You know this for certain?" Eli hesitated. Then he looked her in the eyes. "I didn't just survive a storm, Valara. I was part of a human research station years ago. We discovered evidence of the Wraiths in deep space, near a dead star. But we also found ruins ancient, massive. The Wraiths didn't create themselves. They were made." Valara's eyes widened. "By whom?" "We don't know, but we called them the Forgburn. We think they were an ancient species that weaponized storms to wipe out civilizations. The Wraiths are just leftovers of their design." Valara's heart sank. "And if the Wraiths are still wandering, perhaps the Forgburn are too." Eli nodded grimly. "That's what I fear." A cold silence passed between them. The galaxy was far more dangerous than either of them had thought. Valara straightened her back. "Then we can't wait for them to come to us. We must seek them first." Eli looked at her, surprised. "You wanted to fight them?" Valara's eyes burned with new determination. If they made the wraiths, they'll come again. We must be ready, not just Jalarans, but all species. If my pride blinded me to the danger, I won't make that mistake again. Eli smiled faintly. You sound like a human now. Valara chuckled. Perhaps that's not an insult anymore. Just then, one of Valara's messengers approached. Princess, we've re-established contact with the outer colonies. The storm is gone. The skies are clear. Valara nodded. Good. Tell them to send rescue ships. We have much to rebuild. As the messenger left, Eli looked at Valara seriously. When you rebuild, he said, I can help. Humans have storm sensor technology that might help you detect wraiths before they arrive. Valara smiled. I would be a fool to refuse. They stood together in the cavern, looking out over the survivors. Slowly, the Jalarans were organizing, building tools, caring for the injured. Their pride was dented, but their spirit was not broken. Valara watched her people, and then turned to Eli. Eli Drake, she said, I want you to stay here. Help us rebuild. Teach us what you know. Be my advisor. Eli raised a brow. Advisor. To a princess, that's a first. Think of it as payback, Valara said with a teasing smile. You saved us. Now you're stuck with us. Eli chuckled. I've had worse jobs. Then her expression turned serious. But there's more. I want an alliance. Between Jalarans and humans, we need each other. Alone, we fall. Together, we stand a chance. Eli extended his hand. Then you have yourself an alliance. Princess, she took his hand, her grip firm. In that handshake, a new bond was formed, not just between a human and an alien princess, but between two civilizations. But even as they smiled, deep beneath the surface of the planet, something else stirred. Far below the bedrock, in the deepest darkness, a small shard of the void wraith's essence still pulsed faintly, waiting, and far across the stars, beyond the known galaxy, ancient machines reawakened Forburn, technology stirring once more. Sensing the death of its creation, something was coming, something worse than storms, and this time, Valara and Eli would not face it alone. Weeks passed on Jalara. The skies above the planet had finally cleared, and the deadly grav storm was gone. But the memories of destruction lingered in every fallen tower, every collapsed district, and every survivor's eyes. Princess Valara stood atop a high crystal balcony overlooking her capital. Much of it was in ruins, but rebuilding had begun. This time, the work was not fueled by pride, but by caution and unity. Beside her stood Commander Eli Drake. His wounds had healed, though faint scars remained on his shoulder, a permanent reminder of the fight they had survived together. Valara broke the silence. I thought I was strong before, but it turns out strength is knowing when to ask for help. Eli smiled slightly. It took the end of your city to figure that out, Hushy. Shot him a playful glare. Don't make me regret making you my advisor, human. Eli chuckled, but then his gaze turned serious. Still, we don't have time to enjoy peace. If what I said about the Forburn is true, the next threat won't come as a storm. It'll come as war. Valara nodded. Then we can't face it alone. She had already sent messages to the neighboring systems, calls for aid, for unity. Jalara's shame was no longer a secret. She told the galaxy what had attacked them, even at the cost of pride. And the galaxy responded. One by one, ships arrived in orbit, massive cruisers from the human colonies, elegant vessels from the Sarati Serpentine Empire, bulky warships of the Gravic clans, and sleek scouts of the Myriads. In days, the capital's skies were filled with ships from all corners of the known space. Valara watched as the first human delegation landed, officers, scientists, and engineers. Eli grinned, recognizing some of his old allies. I never thought I'd see this many species gathered without someone trying to shoot first. Eli said, neither did I, Valara admitted. But it seems the wraith scared us all equally. They walked together to the Grand Hall, now repaired and fortified, where the first multi-species council in Jalara's history was about to begin. The chamber was filled with representatives of dozens of species, some tall, some with scaled skin, some with 4 eyes, others with none at all. Yet they all shared one thing: concern. Valara stood before them, her voice steady. My people were nearly destroyed because we ignored a human's warning. That mistake will not be repeated. The Void Wraith is real, and it is only a tool of a greater enemy, the Forgburn. The chamber murmured, some skeptical, others alarmed. A Gravic war chief stood up, his thick armored body towering. You claim there are creators of these storms, yet we have never seen them. Why should we prepare for shadows? Eli stepped forward. Because shadows kill when you don't look. The Forgburn built weapons that can wipe out entire worlds. Without firing a shot, Jalaro was lucky. Next time, it could be any of us. A Serati representative, serpentine and graceful, hissed. And you have proof of these Forgburn? Eli nodded. We do. My old research station found ruins in the dead sectors, structures too advanced, too massive to be natural, and the energy signatures matched the Wraiths. Valara added, we destroyed the Wraith here, but a fragment survived. We captured it. A hologram was projected, the faint pulsing shard of the Void Wraith's essence, sealed in a crystal containment. The room fell silent, every eye fixed on it. Eli explained, we can't destroy it fully, but we can study it, understand its origin, and prepare for when the Forgburn return. Another voice called out from the myriad delegation. What if studying it awakens them faster? We could be inviting doom. Valara raised her hand, doing. Nothing guarantees our doom. We must understand our enemy, or die blind. The room fell into deep murmurs, but no one could deny the logic. Then Eli took a step forward. We propose a joint task force, a union of scientists, soldiers, and leaders from every species here. We'll call it the Vigilant Accord. Its mission, to track down signs of the Forgburn, study the Wraith remnants, and prepare defenses. The Gravic war chief growled. And who leads this accord? You, human. Valara raised her voice. No. This accord will be led by representatives of all species, myself included, and Commander Eli will serve as the human advisor. There was a pause. Then, slowly, representatives began to nod. The Serati delegate spoke first. We will join the accord. One by one, the others agreed. For the first time in generations, the galaxy was no longer divided by pride. Fear had united them, but with unity. The Vigilant Accord was no longer just a dream. It was a reality. Weeks after the Council's formation, the first expedition fleet was ready. Humans, Jalarans, Gravic, Serati, and myriad ships of all kinds gathered in orbit above Jalara, each one representing a species once divided, now united by a common fear. At the heart of the fleet was the VSS Endeavor, a massive human-built exploration dreadnought modified with Jalaran crystal technology. It was the most advanced ship ever made, part science vessel, part warship. Valara stood on the bridge of the Endeavor, wearing armor woven from Jalaran crystal and human alloys. She looked every bit the warrior princess, but this time her pride wasn't in herself, it was in her people and her allies. Eli Drake stood beside her, his human naval uniform freshly pressed, a new badge on his chest, liaison of the Accord. He smirked, looking out the window at the stars. Never thought I'd see this many species flying in the same direction without trying to kill each other. Valara smiled faintly. Maybe we're growing up. Eli chuckled. About time. Their destination was set in ancient, dead system known only by a human designation, Sector 01. It was the place where Ellie's old research station had discovered the Forgburn ruins before being forced to flee. Now they were returning, but this time prepared. Valara turned to her command crew, a mix of humans and Jalarans. Engage the drive. Take us in. The stars stretched and blurred as the fleet jumped to warp, heading straight for the heart of the unknown. After days of travel, the fleet emerged in the dark emptiness of Sector 01. The system was a graveyard of dead planets, shattered moons and asteroids floating like bones in the void. At the center was a dark star, collapsed into a cold, dead mass. No light, no heat, only gravity. But orbiting this dead star was something else, the ruin, a massive structure, larger than a city, floating in perfect orbit. It was a ring-shaped machine, its surface covered in towering spires and dark towers. It looked like a mechanical halo abandoned by the gods. The bridge of the Endeavor fell silent as the image of the ruin filled their screens. That's it, Eli said quietly. That's the Forgburn's work. Valara's eyes narrowed. It looks dead. Eli shook his head. Let's hope it stays that way. The fleet held position while scouts moved in closer. Drones scanned the surface, transmitting data back. Reports flowed in strange energy signatures, but no life detected. The surface was metal fused with unknown alloys, some parts overgrown with space debris, others perfectly preserved. Then, one of the scouts transmitted a shocking image: a massive door, circular and engraved with symbols no one recognized. Valara's eyes lit up with curiosity. That door is an invitation. Eli frowned. Or a trap, either way. They had to know. An elite team was formed: scientists, soldiers, and both Valara and Eli leading the expedition. They boarded a shuttle and flew to the ruin. When they landed, the surface felt wrong. The air was thin, cold, yet breathable thanks to their suits. The metal beneath their boots hummed faintly, as if the station was alive in its sleep. Valara led the way to the massive door, her crystalline blade at her side. Eli walked beside her, pistol ready. They stopped before the door, which was sealed tight. Then, without anyone touching it, the door opened on its own, a low groan of ancient machinery echoing through the void. Beyond the door was a vast hall, dark, but lit faintly by lines of red and blue energy running along the walls. The team advanced cautiously, weapons ready, but no defenses activated, no machines attacked. They reached a central chamber, where a massive console stood. On it, a hologram flickered to life. It was a figure tall, mechanical, humanoid but alien in every proportion. Its voice echoed through the chamber, deep and resonant. "You are late." The team froze. Eli raised his pistol, but the hologram did not react. Valara stepped forward. "What are you?" The figure's eyes glowed. "We are the Forgburn, architects of order. You stand in the place of judgment." Eli scowled. "Judgment, you sent monsters to destroy us, not destroy, cleanse." The void wraiths were designed to remove weakness. Only those who survive their pride may speak to us. Valara's eyes narrowed. "You tested us." "Yes. Most species fall to their ego. Few endure. Fewer still seek us. But now, you are here." Eli snapped. "And what now? Another test. Another storm." The Forgburn hologram paused. "No, now comes the choice, unity or extinction." Valara stepped closer. "What does that mean?" The hologram's voice turned grim. "There are greater threats than us in the dark beyond. This galaxy, forces that consume all. We forged the wraiths to sharpen civilizations, to make them worthy of standing against the true enemy." Eli exchanged a look with Valara. "You mean there's something worse out there?" "Yes. The endless hunger, a force that devours galaxies. It comes, slowly, but it comes." Valara's blood ran cold. "What do you want from us? To prepare, to fight, or to perish? If you are willing, we will give knowledge, weapons. But unity is your price." The hologram faded. The chamber fell silent. Valara turned to the team, her voice firm. "We cannot fight the endless hunger alone. We barely survived the wraith. But with the Forgburn's knowledge we have a chance." Eli nodded. "But only if the galaxy stands as one." Valara extended her hand to him again. "Together?" she asked. Eli smiled and shook her hand. "Together," when the team returned to the fleet. The message was clear: there was a greater war coming. A war that would require every species, every strength, every mind. The Forgburn were not saviors. They were harsh teachers. But now, the galaxy had its lesson and a warning. The stars waited. The endless hunger waited. But so did the vigilant Accord. And this time, humanity and Jalerans would face it united.